Let me make sure. I think we're okay. So we're live. What is up, everyone? Oscar here. Doing my first live stream. Where's my mic? Thanks. Okay, got my mic. Oscar here with a first ever live stream. I have two guests. I want to thank them for joining me tonight. First up is Marvin. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great, my man. How about you?
I'm good. I'm good. And then
Thanks
we
for
have,
having me,
secondly,
man.
we have, yeah, no problem. Thank you for joining me. And then secondly, we have Q. Say hi to the audience.
Yeah, what's up, guys? Thanks for having me, Oscar.
No problem. Thank you for joining me. So this is a live stream where we're going to be discussing our respective teams' draft needs, and we're going to be discussing a little bit about free agency, what the teams addressed during free agency. But first question I want to ask you all is what just to warm up and to get to know you guys a little bit more. What are and we can start off with Martin first. What team are you a fan of, and how long have you been a fan of football, or anything along those lines? You have the floor.
You know what? Just being from Philadelphia, natural, blue collar Philadelphia. I'm a diehard Eagles fan. Love the Eagles, but I'm also a Saints fan. I won't lie. I've always been a fan of Drew Brees. The way he plays the game is the right way, in my opinion. I got a chance to meet all the Saints players, meet Drew Brees, Coach Payton, Mickey Loomis. So can't help but to love the Saints in the city of New Orleans.
All right. Q, you can go next.
So definitely just been interested in football probably since like my honestly like elementary days. Back in the day, watching Joe Flacco and the Ravens and watching the Super Bowl when they went in like I think 2012. All that was really kind of what got me into football. And of course, I grew up in Baltimore, and so the Ravens have a nice little culture there, and and purple is a beautiful color, so gotta go Ravens.
Yeah, and I think I did state this to you guys individually, and obviously my audience knows, but I'll say it live on air, and I'll say it proud. I know that Marvin, you're definitely you and I are going to have a little bit of a back and forth going forward. I'm a Washington football team fan, have been since I was 8 years old. Because that is actually funny enough the first team that I
Washington
saw.
who?
Washington.
Washington who? You a fan of the team? Don't got a name? Come on, man.
It's okay. It's okay though. We got the battle of the beltway too, so you might have ops on both sides.
Oh yeah.
Listen.
Hey, NFC East champs. NFC East champs. Who do the Eagles lose to?
Listen, my man. I don't know if you know this, but outside of the Pittsburgh and New England, Philadelphia is like one of the most successful franchises for the last 21 years. You're talking about Super Bowl appearances, NFC Championship, a Super Bowl win. We've had some with some of the better quarterbacks.
Yeah. I have like I'm a Washington football team fan since I was 8 years old, because that was like the first team that I saw. I just fell in love with it. I know that it's been tough times, but it is what it is. Washington hasn't been a good fan since like the late 1980s, early 1990s. So, but I'm strong. So a question I want to ask the both of you first is, obviously, we're heading towards the draft, but before then we had free agency. What did you like from free agency? What did you dislike, and what do your respective teams need to do to address any needs that they didn't address in free agency? And Marvin, you get to go first.
You know what? I'm gonna just speak on behalf of the Philadelphia Eagles, because that's where that's my home city, and I love the Eagles. I love the pickup of Anthony Harris. I feel like playing next to Rodney McLeod, being at strong safety, being able to cover some of these tight ends coming over the middle, especially when you take a look at Evan Ingram, you take a look at Logan Thomas, and then potentially who Dallas might draft, Kyle Pitts. We need somebody like that to be able to lay the wood with somebody. I really wanted to see us get a Dory Jackson, but fortunately we did. He ended up in New York. But I have hope. And some of the other free agent signings that we made. We picked up a couple of linemen in free agents, but I do want to see address that a little more in the draft. And I like the fact that we brought in a little competition with Joe Flacco. That's not much competition to Jalen Hurts, but Joe Flacco is a nice veteran locker room presence, and you can't go wrong having an older veteran helping your young guy out in the quarterback room.
Before Q gets to answer, I want to ask you your opinion on the Carson Wentz trade, because obviously Carson Wentz was traded to the Indianapolis Colts. What is your thoughts on that? Do you like the move? Do you dislike the move?
I was a firm believer that Carson Wentz has potential. He has potential not to be good, but he has potential to be great. But I don't dislike the move, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because I think we were at that point where the environment was becoming toxic. I think Carson Wentz needed a new scenery. I think he needed a new organization that believed in him to be able to go with Frank Reich, the coach who really sat down with Carson Wentz and was able to get him from that 7-9 season to the season that he ended up putting up the very next season, his MVP campaign. So I don't dislike the move. I think Jalen Hurts is a bright kid. I think he has a bright future moving forward in the league. I'm interested to see what he can do. He definitely showed some potential. Want to get that accuracy up a little bit. It was hovering below 55% last year, so I definitely see him get that up. But as far as the Carson Wentz trade, I don't dislike it.
All right. What about your new coach? Because I know that you guys also, fired Doug Peterson. I don't even know who the new coach is. Can
you repeat that question, my man? I'm sorry, I missed that.
No, you're fine. The new coach. What are your thoughts on the new coach? Because I don't even know who the new coach is, to be honest. I've never heard of that guy's name.
Nick Sirianni is the new coach, and like Dan Campbell, like Adam Gase, he's a unique coach. All right, he's not going to come with the Tomlins of the world, the Bill Belichick's of the world. He's not an up in your face kind of guy where he's letting the press conference, where he's dictating the press conferences. He basically more or less said on paper, scissors, shoot who's going to be the starting quarterback. If they have two guys that are legitimate quarterbacks, but it's different, and in my opinion, different isn't a problem. I think being different can juice up this locker room, and to say that there's going to be a quarterback competition right away is basically telling the locker room that I'm not picking favorites, and all of you guys have to earn your position in this team. So I don't necessarily mind. I don't mind him. I'm willing to give him a chance.
All right. Q, you're next. What is your thoughts on, Baltimore Ravens free agency? I don't. And then, of course, do you guys think that you guys helped out Lamar Jackson any? Do you guys think that he needs to get help, wide receiving wise? Because that has been Lamar Jackson's downfall. Him not having, weapons around him. He's technically been the weapon for the Ravens. So do you think that free agency, addressed that? And if not, what do you think the Ravens should do with the draft coming up?
Yeah, so the Ravens are an interesting team, and Lamar gets a lot of hate, and a lot of people don't think he's a really good quarterback. But honestly, statistically, you look at him, and he's honestly one of the better quarterbacks in the league. I mean, he's 31-10 against everyone in the league that he's gone against so far. Like, if that's not a good, showing off the bat, then I don't know what really is. So Lamar clearly has things to work on. He's young, like he's getting there. He's had contract talks with the Ravens and Eric DeCosta about signing, for a long-term deal. I do think that they will come to a long-term deal. I think it'll probably be next year or later in the season. But I do think they will. I can't imagine that the Ravens would move off of Lamar, especially, getting MVP his first full season and winning a playoff game last season. I do think building around him is important. And, he's done that with J.K. Dobbins and with Mark Andrews and with Marquise Brown. And I know Marquise Brown has kind of struggled to get it off the ground a little bit. But realistically, his first full season, I think he was injured. He had like a screw in his foot. So he, that was kind of bothering him. His second full season was his first real season without that injury. So I think, when you look at that and you see it, you're kind of like, okay, I think this is the season that Marquise Brown has to kind of show up and show that he's out there. We did pick up Sammy Watkins in free agency, and I thought that was good. I don't, it's a little hard because he's not really reliable. He does get injured a lot. And compared to Juju Smith-Schuster and T.Y. Hilton, he definitely wasn't, the number one receiver we could get. But I also think,
I think you could bring Hilton up in that conversation when you speak about injuries.
That is true. Hilton does, deal with injury problems too. So but I think Sammy will come up in big games, and I think realistically that's what we need, right? Like our rushing attack is still going to be top 10 in the league. We still are going to have a dominant defense as long as we can shore up our defensive line in the draft. Losing Matthew Judon was a big blow, I think. He went to New England. But we already kind of knew we weren't going to be able to kind of keep all our edge rushers. And so that's something that we're going to have to address in the draft. We just traded Orlando Brown Jr. to the Chiefs, which is kind of a bittersweet, right? Because we're getting a first-round draft pick and all that. But realistically, when the Chiefs are your kryptonite and you're going to give them more protection for Patrick Mahomes, it's a little scary. It's a little, I don't know. It's an interesting trade. And so I'm kind of seeing how that's going to progress, especially because in the AFC, Lamar and Mahomes, those are going to be two of the quarterbacks that if you're going to expect to go to, the AFC Championship, it's probably going to be those two, dueling it out. And so that's going to be interesting. So I think we need to, we need to do some stuff in the draft, and I'm curious to see if we're going to try to use the two first rounds picks we have and move up. Wide receivers clearly still need. A lot of people feel like that. I mean, Eric DeCosta said he's kind of insulted that the fan base feels like, that they don't have wide receiver talent, but it does. It doesn't help that you're the worst or second worst ranked receiving core in the league. And you have a quarterback like Lamar, who in his first season, his rookie season, was the most accurate quarterback in the league. So, I think that we have some things to address. We have some things to address, and I'm curious to see what they do in the draft and how they treat that. I also think that there's still room for moves, to trade with other teams and stuff. I know we were talking to Houston, one of the edge rushers. So there's still some time to do some crazy things.
So another question. Thank you for your responses. Another question I wanted to ask you guys. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because first when Quick had one out for a second, I can hear you guys again.
All right. Another question I wanted to ask you guys is draft. Obviously, there were trades made. And first I want to Marvin, what is your thoughts on the trade that the Eagles did? They obviously had the sixth overall pick, and now they moved, down to 12. What are you thinking that the Eagles could do with that 12th pick? And did you like that pick, that move at all?
I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, no, go ahead. You can go ahead.
So you're either looking at March or Devontae Smith at that pick, but with them moving down to 12 and then picking up an additional third-round pick, I don't necessarily mind it, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because this receiving class is so deep, and we're talking about even deeper than last year. You're talking about Terrence Marshall from LSU, who's very underutilized. You're talking about Elijah Moore, Rondo Moore from Purdue. There's receivers, Kadarius Toney, Brown. There's receivers all over the board that the Eagles could get in that second round, could go get in that third round, that could turn to be studs. A little more to me. That's the next Tyreek Hill, where you can use him all over the formation and you can target him in the second round. With that first round pick, you're talking about potentially getting next Jalen Ramsey or the next Patrick Peterson and Patrick Surtain Or my personal favorite, J.C. Horn, a physical corner, will shut you down at the line, can make tackles, not scared to stick his nose in there and make physical football plays. Because J.C. Horn is a very, very physical corner. He can line up next to Darius Slay and take off some of that pressure and can be that true number one corner. Because ever since 3 seasons ago, Darius is struggling in the NFL. And last season, he was ranked as the 67th overall corner in the NFL. 67th. That means he's the second best corner on any team. So being able to take some of that pressure off of him, I'm looking for the Eagles to go pick up J.C. Horn in the draft. And if they don't pick up J.C. Horn, then attempt to move back in the draft, pick up some additional draft capital, and go with Greg Zone. That's also one of my favorite, a long, lanky corner who gets a lot of deflection. And again, is another corner who's not scared to play zone coverage, just his nose in there.
Q, you can go next. What are your thoughts for draft? And I know that what did the Ravens end up picking up? Because I know that they were involved in a trade.
Yeah, so the Ravens have 2 first-round picks. They have the 27th overall pick and the 31st overall pick. And realistically, I think the goal would be to get a wide receiver and maybe an offensive lineman to replace Orlando Brown Jr. Like Marvin said, the draft class is so deep for receivers. I'm not sure if you need to move up really far into the draft. So I don't know if we're going to try to spend draft capital to try to move up any farther than what we are. And it might be 1 or 2 spots, but I really can't see us trying to move into like the top 15 or anything to get, because that's just not the Ravens style. The Ravens really, they're very much, they like their draft capital. Like they like having draft picks and being able to do stuff with that. It's also possible that we're going to get an edge rusher and grab a receiver in the second round. I know, between, our O-line, our edge rusher, and wide receivers, I think those are our 3 most important needs. And so I think if there's, I think when Eric DeCosta and them are looking at the draft board and whoever falls to them at 27, in terms of who's the best, like if you have an edge rusher, a wide receiver, and an O-lineman, like whoever's like the best out of those 3, I would grab that one. And then, if anybody else, one of the other 2 is still on the board, and you come to 31, like you just go grab them. And then, then in the second round, I think we look into, adding to the edge, getting more, and just adding depth to certain places, and maybe going and picking up a safety would also be nice if we can do that. So because we got two first.
There's no question in my mind that Baltimore goes edge rusher. You lose Matt Judon, you lose him to the Bills, and that was a big part of your identity. Baltimore's identity is defense.
Yeah. Yeah, Matt Judon went to New England. But yeah,
New England, my fault. Bills, New England. Yeah. You're right.
But yeah, I mean, we lost Matt Judon and we lost Derek Wolfe.
Right.
Did we lose Derek? Yeah. And so, So.
What about Yannick Ngakoue?
It wasn't Derek. It was Yannick Ngakoue. He went to, I don't know, he signed with
someone else. You traded him to Minnesota, and then he ended up signing somewhere else. But you look at just look at the Ravens pedigree. You take Pat Queens, and Pat Queens is going to be the next great Ravens linebacker. If I'm the Ravens, I'm waiting to the second round, grab a Terrence Marshall, to grab a big bodied receiver, maybe a Chris Olave from Ohio State.
Yeah.
Marvin, you're cutting in and out. You're cutting in and out.
Can you hear me now? I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, I can hear you. We can hear you now. I can hear you.
Yeah, and I agree with Marvin. I think that we do need to go grab a second. It might be better to wait for the second round to grab a wide receiver because the class is so deep. So edge rusher and O-line in the first round would be mine. I mean, and I think if we do trade up, like I want to go get like Penei Sewell or something like that. Or if we could trade for a veteran too, like that would be good. Like if we trade away our first round picks for a veteran edge rusher or a veteran or lineman, that also is in the is a possibility.
Draft is 1 week away. Who knows? So I guess I can answer the questions that I asked y'all. And
There we go.
if
Can
you
you
guys,
guys hear me a little bit? I'm sorry about that.
yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah.
We can hear you
Okay,
again.
good.
Yeah. So Washington, in my opinion, um, had a had a good free agency. They it started off with Ryan Fitzpatrick. I honestly, still to this day, don't like that move. I think he's too up and down for my liking. Washington moved on from Alex Smith, even though Alex Smith retired this past week. But we move on from Alex Smith and we get Ryan Fitzpatrick, which again he's too up and down. There's what they call Fitz magic, and then there's Fitz tragic. No matter how much talent you put around him, he still can be bad. But then it got better. They got William Jackson from Cincinnati, which was one of the top corners this offseason. So I'm glad that Washington upgraded their secondary somewhat. They picked up Curtis Samuel, wide receiver from the
Big
Panthers.
time move.
That Washington needed that because
Yeah.
Steve Sims was injured, and he had hands like a snake this past year. The one thing that I wanted Washington to do was help out that tight end group more. I was kind of hoping that Hunter Henry or what's this guy's name? John Smith would have come to DC to help out Logan Thomas, because that is an area that Washington does need help in the tight end group. But interestingly enough, they actually went an interesting route. They picked up Simon Reyes, a tight end who I guess is from Chile. They, instead of waiting for the draft to get him, I guess Washington's college scouts loved him so much that they're like, you know what, we'll just get you through the international pathways program, and there you go. So the needs that I think Washington need to address, and I did a mock draft earlier. They need a linebacker, because that is a spot that Washington did not address in this free agency, because there wasn't many linebackers available. I am interested in seeing if maybe, I'm probably gonna butcher this name. Jok Uwasu Koromora maybe falls to Washington,
What
or
was his name?
Jeremiah Owusu Koromora, the guy from I think LSU, linebacker.
Oh, yeah, I know you're talking
And if not him, maybe a Jabril Cox in the second round.
You talking about Kamar? Yeah, I know you talking about now.
Yeah. And then who else did I? Oh, Zaven Collins is another good linebacker that Washington could get.
Zayden Collins
Either.
will be the best fit for Washington in the scheme that they deploy on defense, because Zayden Collins. Let me tell you what's on Zayden Collins. Zayden Collins is the only lineman, and that has potential to go in the first round, because Mike Parsons is the best off-ball linebacker. But when you talk about Zayden Collins, you're talking about a linebacker who can play on-ball or off-ball, so he can cover those tight ends or he can blitz the passer, and that's a lot of what Ron Rivera likes to do. He likes to blitz a lot. So in my opinion, if Washington stays at 19, I think big time pickup for them will be Zay Collins, because I hear you with the quarterback situation and not liking Ryan Fitzpatrick, but at this point in time, Washington has a championship defense, but they don't have a championship offense. So draft a quarterback like Davis Mills in the second round, drafting a quarterback like Kyle Trask, like Kellen Mond late in the second round, to be able to sit there, learn behind Ryan Fitzpatrick, and then next year you guys will more Super Bowl and be able to take over the division. I can see that happening. Keep building that
I
defense
actually
is what
have.
Washington really needs to do.
Yeah, I actually have Davis Mill. I know that Washington really likes Kyle Trask. I'm just surprised because Kyle Trask does not fit within Ron Rivera or Scott Turner's offense. He's not, because Scott Turner and Ron Rivera prefer their mobile guys. Guys that can move. Kyle Trask is
Right.
he's tall, and he has the arm and he's tall, but he's not mobile. He's not mobile. That's why I really think that Davis Mills is from what I saw, is the best fit, and Davis Mills also could sit behind Ryan Fitzpatrick and develop. So that's why I kind of have him over Kyle Trask, but we'll see. Apparently, Ron Rivera. This is something that I find interesting for Washington, especially Ron Rivera. This last year, a lot of smoke screens. It's smoke. They're smoke. They're doing a lot of smoke screens now with, saying, oh, we can trade back, we can trade up to get our future quarterback, we can trade back and get our linebacker. So who knows? So.
No, I agree. I don't. If they was to take Kyle Trask, I wouldn't mind it because if you're talking about those tier 2 quarterbacks, when you talk about Davis Mills, you talk about Kellen Mond, you talk about Kyle Trask. Davis might have the higher ceiling, but more pro-ready quarterbacks right now is Kyle Trask. And if you look at who you have in your quarterback room with Ryan Fitzpatrick, I mean, who better to learn from? And what more pro-style quarterback does Kyle Trask fit than Ryan Fitzpatrick? So he can learn because Scott Turner is going to have Ryan Fitzpatrick rolling out of the pocket. So if you're going to run an offense for a pro-style offense and a traditional drop-back quarterback, where you're running more of a West Coast style, quick 3-step drop, get the ball out of their hands to these speedy receivers like Curtis Samuel, like Terry McLaurin, and even like Steve Sims. Kyle Trask can be that same quarterback moving forward, learning from Ryan Fitzpatrick, learning the fundamentals of the game, because Ryan Fitzpatrick, for all he can't do, what's between his ears, he might be the best. Outside of Tom Brady, he might be best in the NFL between the ears.
Yeah. And they're saying that Mac Jones too is like really like that too.
Mac, there's no way in hell Mac was falling that far.
No. I don't mean like that. I just meant the whole intelligence thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's Mac Jones's game. But listen, I'm gonna tell you something about Mac Jones. Michael McCordell Jones is his real name. I'm not liking the pick. You at 3 overall, it's a little too high for a quarterback who's had Jerry Jeudy, Henry Ruggs, Devontae Smith, Jalen Waddle, 4 receivers that are going to go in the first round, running wide open through defenses. Of course, you're going to be able to hit the play. And nobody's covering them. So I'm not liking that. I think I can understand the intangibles, having a big arm, big body quarterback, a little bit more mobile than people are giving him for. But as far as going that high, I would prefer to take him somewhere around 19, letting them slide, and then one of those bottom teams, somebody like the Vikings sitting at 14, or somebody like Washington sitting at 19, or even the Bears, being able to take Mac Jones. But he's definitely going top 5. And most definitely top 8.
So, our obvious. Who do you guys have? Maybe. Have you guys done like mock drafts before? And if who do you guys who do you guys have going to Ravens in the first round? I'll give you a couple. I'll give you, like I said. I think the mock draft that I did earlier today. I had Zaven Collins, but I've had somehow. Do you guys think that you guys would trade up? Or would you guys just trade out of the first round to get to get draft stock? What do you guys have going for either one?
I do mock draft time actually. I just participated in a 2-round mock draft the other day. I represented the NFC East, and I had 7 other gentlemen who represented different divisions. And for Philadelphia, when you're talking about 12 overall, that's a very valuable pick. You should be able to see a Jalen Waddle there. I wouldn't be mad if Philadelphia passed on J.C. Horn and grabbed Jalen Waddle in the first round. And you're looking at Tyson Campbell out of Georgia. You're looking at Eric Stokes out of Georgia. Very physical corners. There's one thing about me, I believe big guys beat up little guys. That's one thing that Chip Kelly brought to Philadelphia, that stuck in Philadelphia. And I think whether they take J.C. Horn in the first round and Terrence Marshall in the second round, or Jalen Waddle in the first round, and then you take, a guy like Eric Stokes I would be mad about it. I wouldn't be mad about it at all.
Q, what
But I
about
think
you?
definitely receiver and corner definitely got to be their first two picks.
Oh yeah, I have a question about you. What are your thoughts on maybe getting? I know that Asante Samuel was a Philadelphia Eagle. What do you think about taking his son in the draft? Do you
I,
guys think that you know?
you know what? I think I disagree with it. Asante Samuel, he's better as a zone corner. His dad was better as a press corner. He has all the intangibles. You look at his day. He's a 4.4. He has 4.4 speed, a little bit faster. He can jump off the charts. So he has all the intangibles to be a great corner. But I wouldn't draft him based off the fact that his dad played in Philadelphia. There's a few other guys on my board that I like better than him. I like Eric Stokes better than him. If you're talking about second round corners, I'd put him about second, maybe third behind Tyson Campbell. But I wouldn't be if Asante Samuel came to Philadelphia.
All right, Q. What about you? Any player that you would like to see particularly drafted by the Ravens?
Yeah, so it's interesting. I just looking at the news. So it looks like we already are looking to sign. I don't even know how to pronounce this, but Villanueva, who is an offensive tackle from the Steelers. Since the Steelers were struggling last year, they didn't really sign. Yeah, thank you. So Villanueva, we already reportedly said that we're going to sign him. He visited us. So that already takes away a need. Now we have a reliable veteran, and that's pretty much how the Ravens work. We like our veterans. He's 32 years old, so we're going to get a few years out of him. And you line him up on the right tackle spot, and you got Ronnie Stanley in the left tackle spot. I think that provides a pretty good O-line. We still might look for someone but in the draft, but that means that I think that that probably means that we don't need to worry about offensive tackle as much. Thus, looking back at edge rusher and wide receiver, it's interesting. I kind of go the way. Like I said, the wide receiver draft class is really deep for the Ravens. I mean, for the NFL this year. So I could totally see the Ravens trading one of the picks or both of the picks and getting more picks in the second and third rounds. But I could see them, deciding that, this is the year. Lamar is still in his rookie deal. We still have all our rushers with Gus Edwards, J.K. Dobbins, Justice Hill, and so they might go out and move up and try to get into maybe in the top 15 and try to draft a receiver.
I just can't see Baltimore moving up in the draft. I just can't see it. That's not their play. They don't move up. Baltimore's traditionally a team likes to put. They didn't move up to get Pat Queens. They didn't move up to get Hollywood Brown. Listen, if anything that Baltimore needs is Lamar Jackson is terrible throwing the balls outside the numbers. That's why you see some of your outside receivers like Devin Duvernay, like Hollywood Brown, struggle to get on the map. You can see a guy like Terrence Marshall playing in the slot, being a big-bodied receiver for Lamar Jackson. That's what Mark Andrews was doing, playing in the slot and as a tight end playing receiver. And that's why Mark Andrews turned into an all-pro tight end, because Lamar Jackson had an easier time getting the ball to him than getting the ball outside.
Yeah,
I just want to thank Mark Andrews. I just want to thank Mark Andrews for helping me out in my fantasy league last year. I drafted him in the second round of my fantasy league, and he has been out a lot of times. I was like, okay. I'm like, thanks.
Yeah, Mark Andrews. I agree with you. It would be really interesting. But what I will say is the only reason I say that they might change the strategy, change the methodology this year, is because people are putting on pressure. And Eric Agosta at this point has looked like he's striked out in terms of wide receivers. And you can kind of see that he's frustrated. You can see the fan base is frustrated. I'm sure John Harbaugh is frustrated. And I'm honestly sure the wide receiver core in general is frustrated just about the bad rep they get. So it might be time for them to do it, especially if they plugged up the hole in offensive tackle. But again, I don't think they will. I think it's more likely that they'll either use both draft picks or that they'll trade back or trade one of them away or whatever, or trade for a veteran player.
Yeah, I mean, if you get Villanueva, there'd be no. I mean, I just looked at a mock draft today and completely agree with the pick. Mock draft that I looked at has Alex Leatherwood being drafted by the Ravens at 31 overall. So if you don't sign Villanueva, that's a very physical lineman. There's something to work on as far as getting beat at the point of attack, but he's very strong and he's very aggressive and he can set the tone. That's the kind of demand that Baltimore wants. And if you go if you go Alex Leatherwood at 31 overall, listen, I keep saying his name, but Terrence Marshall is that man. Not being utilized, but still having 20 touchdowns over the last 2 seasons. I think that's a big time pickup. That'd be a big time pickup for Baltimore if they manage to grab a player like Terrence Marshall's caliber late in the first round.
Yeah,
Or you know what? You can even see if you're talking about nastiness. If you're talking about Tevin Jenkins, you got to look at Tevin Jenkins. Tevin Jenkins, he's the nastiest offensive lineman. He can play any position across the line, but most definitely the left tackle or right tackle. That's the reason Orlando Brown wanted to get out of Baltimore, because he wanted to play left tackle. But Ronnie Stanley being there, you could slide Jenkins right in there and set that demeanor. And listen, he might not fall all the way to 27 or 31 because he's becoming one of the fastest risers in the draft.
Yeah. So I mean, it looks like that we are going to plug that hole at right tackle, but it is highly possible that we'll draft an offensive lineman. So we have the 2 first-round picks. We don't have any picks in the second round. We have the 2 picks in the third round and 2 picks in the fourth round. So I mean, it's really possible that the Ravens say, let's go and get 3 picks out of the second round or something and trade back, But I really think it's what they see on the board. But I think that I think they're going to make moves. I really do. I really think that that the Ravens will be a playoff contending team again, and whatever they do,
they just got to get over that. They just got to get over that hump.
Yeah,
playoff contending team aside, listen, I love Lamar Jackson as a fantasy quarterback. I have him in a few different leagues. I traded up to get him. I traded up to get Patrick Mahomes first overall, then drafted Lamar Jackson at 6 overall. Flex league, 2 quarterback type league. Because I put big money. I put about $1,000 every year into fantasy football. So I follow Lamar Jackson's career. What he struggles with is on when you talk about Lamar Jackson getting to the playoffs. These defenses really lock down. These edge defenders really lock down. Lamar Jackson struggles to get outside the pocket. He struggles to throw to the numbers. He has to improve his arm strength and his accuracy downfield because, listen, these little dump offs, they're not going to always work. These little gadget plays to J.K. Dobbins, Lamar Jackson sweeps, J.K. Dobbins running screens, those kind of plays don't work in the playoffs. You either need the Ravens need to find somebody that Lamar Jackson can throw that can accurately catch the ball and pound that rock inside when you talk about getting to the playoffs. Because the best teams the best team in the playoffs win on defense, and they went pounding the rock. You look at Fournette with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers here. They won away from Ronald Jones when it was time for the playoffs. Uncle Lenny got the job done. It was that defense that got the job done. So if the Ravens want to follow the pedigree of championship teams, even back when you look at 2012 when they won the Super Bowl, it wasn't because of Joe Flacco was slinging a rock all over the field. He had 11 touchdown passes, no interceptions in the playoffs. But when it came time to the Super Bowl, and you against that great 49ers defense, it was that run game and that defense that really got that Ravens team off the ground.
Exactly, and those are the things that we excel at. Realistically, I think the Ravens, the Ravens, like Lamar as a quarterback is growing. It's hard to come out and be the most electrifying thing on TV and then to follow that up the next year. And I'm not saying that he didn't. Like I'm saying that I think a lot of people put high expectations and then they then they put really low expectations. So people kind of bounce back and forth. I think Lamar, people think that Lamar struggles under big pressure, and maybe he does a little. I mean, he's a younger quarterbacks sometimes do have that problem where they struggle under pressure.
Patrick Mahomes. I don't hear that young quarterback talk because these days young quarterbacks are excelling in the NFL.
Well, and so is
If you
Lamar.
listen, Lamar's excelling. Lamar's excelling, but at what point will we stop making excuses for Lamar talking about he doesn't have receivers? There's some legitimacy to that. I understand that, but at some point, Lamar Jackson has to. He's going into the year in the league, and if he can't get it done this year, then I'm going to start to lose hope in Lamar ever being able to get it done.
I mean, I think that I do think that's a little drastic, personally speaking. Again, statistically speaking, Lamar is a really good quarterback. Like Lamar has a 3-1 game winning record. Like
yeah, but he has
wins
under a 50 completion percentage when thrown outside the numbers, my man. Like that's where the NFL lives, Kwalik. That's where the NFL lives. Talk about the best quarterbacks in the league: Justin Herbert, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Tom Brady. Quarterbacks throw outside the numbers. You look at Chris Godwin and Mike Evans. Tom Brady was throwing the ball outside the numbers and not just checking it down. The NFL is a passing league.
The reality is, though, the Ravens. What you're talking about is weapons. Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, Antonio Brown, Tom Brady had weapons. Patrick Mahomes, Sammy Watkins, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce. I'm not saying that Lamar.
But you guys have weapons too. Hollywood Brown is the first.
In my opinion, though, if I can get in, I think that Lamar needs more than Mark Andrews, Hollywood Brown, Sammy Watkins. Sammy Watkins, he's injury prone. He's only good for three games in a season, and that's it. You know, your run game, it's there. You know, you don't have to worry about. You don't have to touch any running backs. You just need other wide receivers. So, my opinion, I do want to ask you, Kwalik. Do you think that going after maybe Antonio Brown, because he's still out there as a free agent, I believe. Would you as a Ravens fan want to see him? You know, knowing that he has history with staying out of trouble. But, he obviously stayed out of trouble somewhat in Tampa, but would you want to go after him?
So Antonio Brown
to just be a weapon. Yeah.
Antonio Brown settled his civil case with the woman that he had transgressions against. And so like in that end, like that book in his life is closed. They settled out court, I think, or they settled and so Antonio Brown has showed that he can behave himself. And I think the thing is, I think he's looking for a long-term deal. And now the question is how much does he want in a long-term deal? Because clearly, we're not going to go and we're not big spenders, and we honestly just don't have the cap space to go out and spend too much money on Antonio Brown when we still have other needs. So I think if we could get Antonio Brown at a reasonable price, and I think lining him up with Sammy Watkins, Marquise Brown, with when J.K. Dobbins, Mark Andrews out there with some of the other, Jay Prochet, if he gets more touches, Devin Duvernay, we have, the thing is we have a really young core wide receiving core. And I think if I think part of it is that we do need some veteran presence. So you add Antonio Brown and you add Sammy Watkins, I think that will help. I think if you add, a working receiver in the draft, that'll help. I don't want to bend over backwards for Antonio Brown, but I think if we can get him, I mean, Lamar seems like he's interested. Marquise clearly, that's his cousin, right? Like Marquise is clearly down. So I mean, I have no problem bringing in Antonio Brown.
First of all, what is your reasonable price for Antonio Brown? And second of all, where is he going to play? Is he playing in the slot? Because now you're taking Sammy Watkins out. Is he playing on the outside? Now you're taking away Hollywood Brown, and you're taking touches away for your receiver and Devin Duvernay, which means to the third round pick. So where exactly is he going to play?
I mean, he doesn't need to line up for every play. I think that if they switch up and they kind of,
that's not Antonio Brown want to play.
Well, and the other thing is, and so that's what I'm saying. Like we're not being over backwards for him. The other thing is Sammy, like Oscar said, Sammy Watkins is pretty injury prone, and so we might not play Sammy on every snap. Like it might be more beneficial to kind of keep Sammy, get him involved, but in the more high stakes games, and especially like you're talking about playoffs, well, we need big playmakers in playoff games. I mean, part of the problem in the last playoff game against
Tennessee,
not Tennessee, we beat Tennessee.
You lost to Tennessee. Tennessee made it to the AFC Championship.
No, the Bills. Last year, the Bills. Like the thing is, we had so many drop passes. Like Lamar had, I think, seven drop. Like there was like seven drop passes in that game. So we need to improve. Realistically, right? Like if we can get Antonio Brown and we can make it work. And the other thing is that we haven't touched on, and this isn't even criticism for Lamar or anybody, but Greg Roman has a bad history with passing.
Oh,
Like
true.
Greg Roman has a really bad history in passing. Every time Greg Roman's been an offensive coordinator, he's had one of the best, or if not the best, rushing offense, and literally the worst passing, or close to the worst passing offense. So I'm not saying that Greg Roman's not a good coordinator, but I'm just saying that I think he does. Lamar even kind of made his statement about it last year. He said that, look, like, I think that our plays is too simple. Like, the defenses are calling out our plays. They know what we're going to do before we're going to do them. So I think, getting Lamar involved in some more complex plays, getting Sammy Watkins involved, getting Marquise Brown, and if we get Antonio Brown, then good. If not, if we get another rookie receiver, yeah. And just figuring out how to utilize them. And I do agree that Lamar needs to improve. And I do agree that, like, I do agree that, like, we got to keep moving forward. It's all about forward momentum. But I don't like I think even if like the Ravens went 10-7 next year, I still think we should sign Lamar for like long term.
Oh, that's
I
another
think when you
question I
talk
ask you
about
all.
Greg Roman, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Oscar.
That's something I did when I can't believe it's let me slip my I let it slip my mind. What do you guys think about the extra game added? Do you think the NFL really needed it? Because now there's it's a 17 game season. Playoffs are going to start like a week afterwards, and then the Super Bowl, instead of being the 1st February, it's now the 2nd of February. What do you guys think about that move of going from 16 games to 17?
Go ahead, Quali.
It's about money. I mean, it's just like the NBA. Like they want more money. They want more opportunities for people to have their eyes on football, and people want more football. I think it'll be interesting because one of the questions that one of my favorite like radio personalities posed was like, how do we then is a 9-18 really a good team? Or is it? Yeah, would that be? Is that right? Yeah, 9-8. Yeah, is a 9-18 really good? Because like right now we consider a 9-17 a decent team, right? A good team. But if you're 9-8, that just doesn't look as well. Right? You're one game away from basically splitting even. So. Like I think that it'll be interesting, and I also think realistically that it's kind of going to be the same thing. That 17th game, if you're already in the playoffs and you're not really fighting for contention, you're probably playing your backups and all that, and you're probably just you're not playing as hard. But if you are in playoff contention, it'll be a way, it'll be intense, and it'll be another bit of thrilling. It'll be more thrilling. So yeah.
To you asked, does the NFL need a 17th game? To answer the question, no, they don't need a 17th game. Because why? I mean, why? Making enough money from the TV deals that you get. You're already paying the players enough. The players don't want the 17th game because you're not paying them enough to play that extra 17th. Essentially, what you're talking about, the people who have already signed contracts and haven't worked that 17th game into their deal, they're only making an extra couple $100,000. And I say only because when you're talking about the NFL, talking about millions. So $100,000 to them is like $25 to your average person. So no, they don't need that 17th game. It's not going to increase the TV ratings. Kwalik is right. Some of the teams that are going to be playing in that 17th game, I don't know what universe you think 9-7 is a decent team, but some of these teams that are going to be playing that 17th game at 9-7, that potentially will be in the playoffs, that they're going to be sitting their star players. So essentially, the TV ratings are going to go down even more when you look at it from that perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that 9-7 is a good team overall, but I'm just saying that they're not like you know,
I mean,
they're
it's
a
not.
work in
It's not. They're
progress.
not. It's a winning
9-7
record.
means is
A
they beat
winning
up
is
on
a
a couple
winning
of bad
record.
teams.
Yeah.
9-7 just means you beat up with bad teams.
I mean, yeah, potentially, but
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry to say it, but both of your teams are in the NFC East, and right now you guys are kind of the locking stock
Ooh.
of the of the
Dang.
of the
Time
You
out,
want the
time
you
out.
want
Because
the
I mean, because
smoke. You
if you
want the
want to
smoke.
get legitimate quality, if you want to get legitimate, you were still middle school the last time your team won a school. Let's keep it real, brother.
I mean, that's cool. I mean, I'm not
I,
Keep
saying
it
I was
real.
I, I
but
was in, I was in high school. I remember, in fact, when the Ravens won the Super Bowl. I remember, I had health education for my first period every day, and my fitness teacher, PE teacher, he was a Baltimore Ravens fan. So I asked him. He was like, I was like, how are you doing? Because I know that the Ravens were this close to blowing it. He was like, yeah, if the Ravens would have lost, I would have been depressed. I would have not come to work the next day. I was.
it's true. It's true. It's so true. Yeah, no, I was in sixth grade. I remember I was like it was a crazy game. And I'm not, again, I'm not saying, but like Joe Flacco wasn't our guy or whatever, and the Ravens haven't been in contention. But you look at the AFC North now, Baker
I
Mayfield's
mean,
showing up.
let's really take a look at the Philadelphia Eagles. All right, let's really take a look at it. They got a first round receiver
Oh,
in Jalen Rager.
just a little disclaimer, Marvin. The only reason why I rooted for for the Eagles to win that Super Bowl is that I really don't like Tom Brady. I really didn't like the Patriots because there were overachievers. So that's the only reason why I selected the Philadelphia, or I went with the Philadelphia Eagles to win the Super Bowl.
No, I hear you, but I mean, if you take a look at the current status of the Eagles, they're in prime position to take back the FCEs. I mean, you're talking about their defense has pieces. They have Brandon Graham, they have Fletcher Cox. Their defense is coming back. We're potentially going to draft a linebacker. If Michael Parsons falls to them at 12, there's no way in hell we saw him. And I know our pedigree isn't drafting linebackers in the first round, and the last time we did that was back in the 80s. But you look at the pieces that they have in place already. Their team is very young and very talented. Dallas Goedert, with Jalen Redd, with Anthony Harris. Our secondary is going to be one of the best secondaries in the league. You got a front seven that only keeps getting better. You're talking about like I said, and Brandon Graham is coming back. Derek Barnett has another season under his belt in this defense. I like our chances for Philadelphia. I like what we're doing. Zach Ertz is still on the team, and Zach Ertz gets traded. That's another that we're going to have. So I like where Philadelphia is heading, in the direction they're heading. And then not to mention, we have a young quarterback. Like, I understand Jalen Hurts struggles with his accuracy. I'm not saying Philadelphia is winning the Super Bowl this year, but if Jalen Hurts can show that same potential that he showed if Jalen Hurts can show that same potential that he showed against Kyler Murray last year when he brought Philadelphia all the way back, and we were getting there. We were this close. We were so close to winning that game. I'm with it. I like Jalen Hurts. In my opinion, he could be the next Russell Wilson.
I have a question for you, Marvin, and Oscar, if you would allow me. But
Yeah, yeah, go
no,
ahead.
no, and so it's an Eagles question. I just like saw the this come out when I was walking today, so I just figured I'd bring it up. But like, so what do you feel? How do you feel about Justin Jefferson and his comments short about the Eagles and being grateful that he got drafted to the Vikings over the Eagles?
I mean, that's
And
Justin
him
Jefferson.
being
Justin Jefferson's going to listen. Does he have a Super Bowl under his belt? I understand he put up 1,400 yards, which broke Randy Moss's record. But all right, you're stuck with Kirk Cousins. You're stuck in purgatory. You're not making it to the playoffs. Be happy all you want
purgatory.
to, Justin Jefferson. Be happy all you want to. Why are we mad about that? We have Jalen Rager, who's a very, very talented receiver that struggled with injury. You're going to see Jalen step up and be that number one receiver for Philadelphia this year. So absolutely, I'm not mad about it. Rager fit the scheme better than Justin Jefferson did. We already had a big body receiver. We don't need what we needed was somebody who could stretch the field for Carson Wentz. And unfortunately, Jalen Rager was hurt last year. I'm not mad. Players are going to say what players want to say in the NFL. As a former athlete myself, I've said things that weren't necessarily true. And just the way I felt, just to say things, put it into the universe. So Hell no, I'm not mad about it. You know, he's a great receiver stuck in purgatory, so that's what that is.
Oscar, what do you think about Alex Smith? Like in his claims against like Washington, and said that they were patronizing when he came back from his injury, and that they were like basically kind of they literally intentionally like put him through really grueling practices and tried to break him in an effort to kind of show that he wouldn't be ready to get back on the field.
Well, look, I mean, me personally, I think so. Ron Rivera wants to or wanted to get rid of everything to deal with the old regime. I think that's what that was. That he wanted to, he wanted to. He's because that's what he's doing. He's rebuilding everything from scratch. So it is what it is. Alex Smith, came back and won comeback player of the year. But I just think that I'm kind of glad that that's unfortunately Alex Smith down the stretch was bad because he got hurt again, and but I think it is what it is. My thing was or is what if what if you made Alex Smith not come back? Would you have been NFC East champs? Because Kyle Allen was okay, the quarterback, but then he got hurt. Dwayne Haskins is immature and and is garbage. I'm glad that we got him up and out of here.
The season was over.
Yeah, exactly. Alex Smith was your only viable option, and later on you brought in a no-name.
Colt McCoy got hurt as well.
Oh yeah, and then you bring in a no-name Taylor Heineke who surprisingly went toe-to-toe with Tom Brady. So
that was pretty good.
Yeah. So no disrespect to Eagles fans. And I know I have another friend who is going to be joining on draft in draft week as well. He's a Cowboys fan, but I think that Washington has the most intriguing offseason compared to I take that back. Washington and the New York Giants have the most interesting offseason.
Oh,
the
Giants
have made big
moves too. Moves. Yeah, the Giants made moves. My friend's a Giants fan.
The Giants made moves for a bunch of players that are made out of glass. That's what they did.
Oh. Hear that, Giants fans? That's the last. That's the last thing that's missing from me is getting a Giants fan up here.
I might be able to pull it out. I
know my best friend Dustin is a big time Giants fan.
There you go.
Well, I do. I'll end the NFL Q&A session here. Because it's just about to be an hour, but I do want to ask you guys your preferences. I'm going to go live all three days. I'm currently working out something for the first day with someone else, but if anything comes through, I will message you guys. Will you guys be available Thursday? If my plan for the other. All right.
I'm usually. I start college in a few weeks here, but I'll make sure I'm available.
All right. Q, what about you?
Yeah, I should be around. I mean, I'm if I have a meeting or two, I'll let you know. But I should be around.
Yeah. All right. Sounds good. So Thursday, obviously the draft is at 8. I plan on if anything were to happen, I don't think that I plan on being live for the draft for day 1. Day 2, I'll probably I'll try to do most of it. It's just that since day 2 is day 2 and 3, or rounds 2 and 3 for day 2, so I don't know how long I would, until I guess I get exhausted or whatever. And then day 3, I'm probably just gonna do 2 or 3 hours because day 3 is rounds 4 through 7, and that's gonna be that's 7 hours in itself. And I'm not that hardcore with StreamYard to sit for 7 hours and watching the draft. So
I need you to send me care packages. I gotta come in 7 hours.
Day 3 always seems to usually go by pretty fast. It starts around 12 p.m. Eastern. And it usually ends around like 3 p.m. But it doesn't take very long because I think the clock goes a little faster.
But last year I remember it like lasted 7 hours.
Yeah, with the virtual
remember.
platform. With the virtual platform, it's a little crazy.
Oh yeah, with the virtual platform. Oh yeah, you're right about that.
Did you wait? Okay, like I know we're about to end it, but did y'all see the whole like little back and forth between Cliff Kingsbury and Sean McVay, Rams and Arizona quarterbacks? I mean coaches. They like because I guess like Cliff Kingsbury went last year was like had this really like awesome like penthouse suite for the draft when they were drafting, and so then I guess like Sean McVay went out and was like they rented a house in Malibu. For their draft day.
I didn't hear about that actually.
Yeah, they got.
I don't pay attention to petty drama in the NFL. I stick to football.
Yeah, I don't.
It was more for
as long as I know, as long as it doesn't surround my team, I'm fine. Like I don't I'll pay attention and laugh about it, like not on air, but I'm not when it comes to like drama like that, I just stay out of it. I just think it's funny and I just move on. I'm like, oh, good laugh. Next.
Right.
But, alrighty. That'll do it for this live stream. I always ask my guests this whenever I have them on, either as a pre-recorded session or live. Where can people find you on social media? So that way people can follow you wherever.
You can find me on Twitter. My Twitter handle is at Marvin Pearson 28. Instagram it's at Pearson _ III. And then on Facebook, you can find me on Facebook too, MD Pearson.
All right. Q.
Yeah. And, on Facebook, just Qualik, Qualik, and then Ford Ford. My Facebook's kind of burned, so you might not want to follow me, but yeah.
So I don't post anything on Facebook. I just post links on Facebook. That's what I use Facebook for. Like I get like notifications on Facebook. They're like, you have this many followers. I'm like, or this person wants to be your friend. I'm like, yeah.
Hey man, yeah.
But obviously, yeah, exactly. But if you're watching this either live or later on, just hit that subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it. I cover Washington or NFL content. Or European soccer, Real Madrid content. So go ahead and subscribe if you're into those. Until then, guys, we will see you guys later. You will see these two gentlemen join me again for the draft. So until then, keep it real, guys. Peace.